welcome. Do accept my deepest apologies for not posting yesterday. I have a very good excuse. I was at the plot for just over 3 hours yesterday. A lot of hard work got done. I got home, I went shopping, did the dinner, and then I was fast asleep. So I woke up this morning and I was like, oh my gosh. But it's okay because like yesterday and today kind of ties into the same kind of thing. So yesterday was going to be about bulbs. So I was going to talk to you about bulbs. And today I'm talking to you about seeds. So I'm kind of just going to jam with you together. It's probably going to be a long one because this is like planned to a degree, but I'm probably going to waffle a little bit. So grab yourself a drink. I've got myself one in my Christmas cup. It's not tea actually, believe it or not. It's actually a warm Ribena. Oh, nice. Just to keep the throat going for you so I don't get croaky. And also, yes, I know, look, nothing on my tree. The star my husband bought was too heavy. So I said he's got to go off and go and get another one. I like an angel on a tree, but he wants a star. Anyway, so let's start on bulbs. I've got a couple of bulbs here to show you, just some examples. So I showed you the onions already. So these are called onion sets, and you can get just about every type imaginable. So I've planted onion sets in my allotment, so red onions and brown onions. I went to B&Q, they had more, so I kind of got some more. I've seen a lot of people sowing the sensu onions. So what I'm actually going to do with these is I'm not going to put them in the ground. I'm actually going to plant these in the greenhouse into seed modules and grow them a little bit from there and put them out in spring next year. But I found, although I've still got some onions now from this year's harvest, I'm not going to have any onions for at least 5 months of next year. To me, that means I'm not growing enough onions. So I've got some pots. So some of the pots I was going to use for potatoes, I'm actually going to stick onions in. But I'm going to start them off in the greenhouse. Kind of like an experiment just to see which do better. And then at the end of next year when it's onion planting again, because I don't do mine in the summer, I do mine in the winter months because it gives me something to put in the ground. I will see which works out better and then I will do it from then. And also I've never had these ones before, so I thought I would try them. So, and put some in my daughter's plot as well because she's got nothing growing, so she needs something in there that's nice, cheap, because these were half price, that she can start growing in her plot. And the most popular thing I think that people think of when they think of bulbs is daffodils, crocus, tulips, all those kind of things, hyacinths, which are my absolute favourite bulb. I think they are the most amazing flower in the whole wide world apart from peonies because they smell beautiful. So if you can get a hold of some hyacinth bulbs, I recommend you plant them. You can also get some indoor varieties as well. So I'm just going to show you these. So when you're looking at the packets for them, don't be concerned that there's only a few in the back because they really do go quite a long way. So things to check when you buy bulbs are usually on the back. Make sure there's some kind of instructions on them because if you're getting them from countries like China and places like that, they don't always have this. So this one tells you there are 9 to 10 bulbs in this pack. It also tells you to space 10 centimeters apart. And it also tells you they grow to 20 centimeters high and they will flower for you around March and April. Now, don't forget that is always a guide because it all depends on what location you're in and what weather you've had and when you planted them as well. So that also depends. So, for example, if I should have put these in, say, August, I could put these in as early as August. I will start getting flowers February, March time. Now, because I'm planting these in December, I shouldn't expect any flowers until April, May time. So that also depends. So don't read the back as gospel. Think about when you're putting them in the ground. Also, the different varieties, what I mean by that is sometimes you'll get them for the ground, raised beds, patio. Look at your space, look at how tall they get, which ones. So you don't want to put crocus in behind a tulip or a daffodil because it will get hidden by them. So always make sure you're going in high order with your flowers. And even if you're planting and you think, right, I'm done, you go to the supermarket, you go to a shop, you go to a garden centre and you see some more, think about then where you're going to put them. They like to be in pots as well. They're pretty good in pots. They grow very, very well in pots. So for example, these ones here, I've got rockery mixed. So these aren't as tall, and I've got a couple of areas in the garden that I want some shorter flowers. So it's always nice to have blooms at the start of the year, because it kind of puts you in that gardening mood to get going with all your seed sowing if you haven't already. So around my pond area, I'm going to pop some of these, and also around where I've got my grapevine, that's where these ones are going to go. And I've also got some ranunculus, purple sensation. So these look like little spiders. I'm actually going to open these ones for you. So I planted some of these at the pot yesterday, some pink ones. And these ones here kind of look crazy. So they always look dead. Bulbs usually look dead. So bulbs, they are fantastic. You put them in the ground one year and they will keep coming back every single year. Careful not to dig them up if you're putting them in a bed where you grow other things, because that's something that I've had to learn this Christmas. So because I'm having the landscaping and everything moved around, a lot of my pots have got spring bulbs in it. So I'm having to really gently take them out and then move them into their new forever home. And any bulbs that I've not been able to put in their forever home yet because of moving things around, I put into little seed modules, and they're going to stay there until I can get them into their home. So these are a great buy. If you do not have a lot of money, yes, I know a seed packet you can get for 99p, but if you don't have a lot of money and you can't afford to replenish your garden every single year with flowers, especially seasonal flowers, get yourself bulbs. The investment is 100% worth it for bulbs, because then you don't have to worry every year. You can just add to it. You know, if you bought yourself 2 different packets each year, in 3 years you'll have such a beautiful variety. So bulbs, I think, are very, very good. And even with vegetables as well. So yes, you can grow onions from seed, but I think you need to be a little bit more experienced than that. I am only in my 2nd year of gardening. I am not experienced enough to grow from seed, but it's something I'm thinking about for next year. So I will probably do both next year. So yeah, so they don't have to be really expensive. Sometimes if you're buying online from seed catalogues, these can be like $10.99 plus. You can shop around, have a look around, but just check where they're from, where they've originated from. That's actually really important. So top tip, check where they originate from. Don't just go to a supermarket, like for the garlic example, and just grab a bulb of garlic and think that's going to work, because 9 times out of 10 it won't work. The success rate won't be very good, and you will just get disappointment, especially with how long it takes to grow. So yeah, so that's one of my tips for onions. So that's it for the bulb section. So day 10 for yesterday, that's it for bulbs. Definitely worthwhile buying if you don't have a lot of money. If you do have a lot of money, then you can have a lot of fun with bulbs. You really can. Regards to the weather in your bulbs, so some of the bulbs I put in, when did I put them in? In October. We're now in December. So end of October, they've already started to come up because it's mild outside. So what I've done is I've made sure I've given them a really good thick mulch to protect the green that has come through. So when we do get the frost, when we do get the snow, it's not going to burn them off or make them go soggy or then rot down into the bulb. So put everything over, mulch your bulbs after. Once the soil's gone on, mulch your bulbs. Mulch, 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 mulch. Straw, leaves, hay, proper mulch. You can use compost, but I've learnt from my vegetable patch that it still gets very, very soggy. So I would say definitely put some cover over. You can use chip-ins, anything from your compost if it's broken down but not fully broken down into a nice soil. You can even use that. So there are lots of things that you can use to mulch over the top of your bulbs. But yes, bulbs are a winner for me. I love bulbs because they'll just keep coming up, and then you forget as well. If you're me, you forget what you planted, and it's lovely to watch them come up and you're like, is that the daffodil? Is that the crocus? I mean, you can see what a crocus looks like, a bad example. Is that a tulip? Is that a daffodil? Is that a hyacinth coming up? What colour is it going to be? And it's absolutely stunning. So just remember, bulbs, you can get them from pound shops and places like that, and you can do a lovely little pot. Even if you live in a flat, pots and tubs, anything like that, your windowsill, any of those kind of places, and you can have that beautiful pop of colour in spring. Okay, so let's go through the seeds. I brought you in a little bit closer for this one because the packets are a lot smaller. So you can't have a vegetable garden or a flower garden really without buying seeds. They range from a huge amount of prices. So I bought seeds for 59p a packet. I've also bought seeds for £8.99 a packet. There are seeds I've seen for £12.99 for a packet with like 5 seeds in it. So your seeds are really important as a gardener, as a new grower. So you would think, I thought, shall we say, that when I started gardening, it was grab a packet of seeds. I've got these, for example. This is actually the same as what I used last year. And throw them in some compost, give them a water, and they will grow. And then I'll just stick them in the garden, done. I wish it was that simple. I really do wish it was that simple. It really isn't. I've learned some hard lessons this year about what I'm sowing into, when to water, how to water, the best ways to water, when to put them outside. I've learned about putting them outside to acclimatise to the colder weather from being inside, because I've grown some in the house before I got my greenhouse and in the shed. I've learned about light. It's something that is worth taking your time over. So I'm just going to show you another one while I'm chatting now. So take your time with seed sowing. Learn as much as you can about seed sowing, about the different types, because flowers will be different to a vegetable. For example, let me show you that one. They are also different. And also, if I show you the back of some of these seed packets. And actually, there is one other one that I really do want to show you that's very different to all of the rest that I have. Okay, so get a seed packet you are comfortable with. So as you can see there, it tells you clearly up here when to sow, when not to sow, when it's going to flower. So always make sure you're picking up seeds you feel comfortable about. These, you will plant them once and once only. So you will only ever have to buy one seed packet. And my advice to you is don't sow the whole packet. That was one of my mistakes. Keep some back for future sowings. So the date on the back, so this was December 2028, just there. Okay, so these will last. Keep them in a dry place. So I would recommend, if you're new, grab a biscuit tin, that kind of container, nothing plastic. If you're keeping it outside, if you're keeping them indoors, plastic's absolutely fine. I've got modules like this where I've labelled what month. So I go through, when I get my seeds, I go through them all and I think, right, okay, the earliest. So for example, the earliest I can sow these is February. So I would actually put that inside here. It doesn't mean I'm going to sow them in February. It just means I can sow them from February. And if then in January I look at February's, so I'm going to open my February in January because I like to be prepared. And I'm like, right, okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 things to sow in February. That's a lot of sowing to do. That's a lot. Have I got enough storage space? Have I got enough shelving? Have I got enough seed modules for all of these? So sometimes I might look and say, okay, so if I don't sow this one in February, I can sow this all the way up until May. So I will have a look at April. And straight away I say, okay, no, my April's way full. Can't sow them in April. March is even more full. So where is May? Because May fell down the stairs as I was coming down the stairs. May. So I've got even more in May. So I'm thinking, I've only got 6 now, which seems a lot, in February. So that is when I'm going to sow these. So I'm going to sow, say, 6. You probably wouldn't need more than 6, no matter how big your garden is. So I would sow 6 of those in February. And then I might say, right, okay, I'm going to do a late sowing in May. So then I would move them into May. And then I would get a little white sticker, put it on the front, and write in there, second sowing, and then put the date. So I know I've already had 1 sowing of these, that I'm only doing a second sowing, so I don't need to sow the whole packet. And then I will have some later flowers before the first frost, because as we know, the frost kills those ones. The one other thing that I would say that's super important, in fact, probably the most important thing about seeds that I have learned, not all seeds you can sow straight into your seed modules, your trays. they don't like to be transplanted. So I learned the hard way about that one. I sowed a load of carrots in seed modules, and only to find out that carrots do not like to be transplanted. So my first lot of carrots all died. Nothing happened. And they were really sad. I put them into the ground and then they went all floppy and died. So check your packets, whether it says sow direct. So if it says sow direct or best sown direct, always sow directly into the ground. And the other thing I would say about carrots, or anything that will need thinning out, just be mindful of that. Don't be shaking that packet all in there. Try not to do it like that. A really good tip that I found is to get a salt shaker, half fill it with sand, and then put a pinch of your carrot seeds into that. Give it a good mix and then shake that into your rows or into your circles or into your pots, your big pots, wherever you want to put your carrots or grow your carrots in your containers. Because it already thins them out a little bit for you. So then when it comes to pricking them out, you haven't got to spend hours. So I learned that the hard way this year. I didn't thin out any of mine really, not properly. And I got a lot less carrots that way. And also they intertwine really badly if they're that close together. So always check the back of your packet. I think it is definitely worth taking your time sowing your seeds, whether it's in your modules or straight into the ground or into your beds. Take your time sowing your seeds. I say my top tip is grow something you've never grown before. You never know, you might like them. Yeah, I didn't, but they were really cute and the guinea pig liked them. Then I would say grow your staple. So for me, a courgette is a staple. And then I would say, so sunflowers for me, they were one of my winners this year. I loved sunflowers. So I've got a different colour and a different variety for next year. So I won't have all of the same colour. So sunflowers I think is a definite for me because you just keep the seeds and then you can sow them again. So calendula are another one, although I have got calendula to sow again because I want more. And grow something that is quite versatile as well, that you can put in many different things. So tomatoes, for example, you may not like tomatoes, but you might like tomato ketchup. You can make your own ketchup. You may not like tomatoes, but you add chopped tomatoes, for example, in your chilies. So grow tomatoes. And the other good thing about tomatoes is you can literally pick them, stick them straight in a freezer bag, stick them straight in the freezer. You've got to do no prep whatsoever to them before you freeze them. You stick them straight in a freezer bag, put them away, don't think about them. And when the main growing season is over and you get into September, October time and things start to slow down just a tad because there's always something to do, that's when you can then get them out of your freezer and process them more. So yeah, so that's a really good one. Again, or you can just say, right, okay, tomorrow I'm doing spaghetti bolognese. I'm going to go to the freezer. I'm going to take out 1 bag of tomatoes. They will thaw overnight in a saucepan, and then you can just blend them up with a blitzer, stick blender, or you can chop them if you want them chopped in a salsa, and it's all done for you. It's really easy. So I'm not a big fan of tomatoes just to eat them. I don't mind the small varieties, but the big ones I'm not a big fan. But I will be growing a lot of them for storage for big meals. You know, when you're doing slow cooker meals, bung them in. Great for curries as well. Cut them into quarters, stick them in a curry. It takes on the flavour of the curry and it just completely changes it. So yeah, so there's lots of things, which is why it's much longer for seed sowing. Make sure you've got the right compost. Don't use any just general supermarket compost. Make sure you're using a potting mix, something nice and fine, because you don't want that seed to have to fight through twigs and God knows what, and bits of glass and bits of this and that to try and get out, because you will not be successful in your seed sowing. And that's why I had a lot of failures, because my compost mix was not right and it was too fertile. So I thought by adding lots of fish blood and bone and watering with fertilizers when they were growing, I thought I was helping my seedlings, and what I was actually doing is I was killing them because it was just too much for them to cope with. So a basic potting mix with a little bit of sand, vermiculite, grit, anything like that, which helps with drainage because they don't like to be soggy. that is worth buying. Don't just use general compost or mud from the garden if you are sowing, especially the really delicate seeds like carrots, like sweet potatoes. They like a nice thin compost to get bigger in without having to fight with it. And parsnips too. The second thing I would say is to water your soil in your modules before you put the seed in, is what I would say, because that stops you from over watering. So water them first, make sure they're damp, then pop your seed in, and then cover over with your grit or your vermiculite or a little bit of compost and sand mix. Just nice gentle thin layer on the top. That's another top tip. Also, make sure light is available. They need light. Don't use the whole packet in one succession, so which means that if they take 3 weeks to germinate, for example, then when that started to germinate, you can then pop some more seeds in, and then you'll have another lot of flowers which will last longer. So when those ones die off, you can take them out and you'll have new ones to go straight in. That way you haven't got bare patches in your borders and in your vegetable patch, when then the attack of the aphids and everything else will happen, and all sorts of kind of bugs, because you are constantly putting fresh new flowers in. Have gone on for more than long enough. So I've more than made up for 10 and 11. And what did I get in my seed calendar today? Lettuce. Lettuce is boring. I find lettuce super boring, which is why I bought this one. Because that, can you see it in the light there? You can't really see it in the light there. That does not look boring. So yeah, so that's what I've gone with. So have a variety. Think about 10 things that you would like to really home in your skills and practice your skills. And then again, if money is an issue, which who isn't money an issue for nowadays with the whole cost of living, get things that you can then take the seed from and regrow yourself. So for example, I know I was just about to end it there. Your sweet peas will then provide you with these pods, and then you open the pod, which I need to be super careful opening, because that happens. I don't know where that went. I saw that where that went. Okay, I've got it. So this one has got 2 in it. 1, 2. And I'm just going to place that right down there very carefully because I don't want to waste any of these seeds. And each one of those seeds will provide you with another flower as long as they germinate. So you won't have to buy sweet peas for next year. So I haven't bought any sweet peas because I know I picked enough sweet peas off of mine this year for next year. The same as the sunflowers. So if I show you, so you can buy your own little envelopes or use plastic envelopes. I didn't mean to throw that at you then. I do apologise. So that is mini sunflowers and giant sunflowers. I love that noise. So I don't need to buy anymore unless I buy a different variety, which I have done, of sunflowers. Marigolds are exactly the same. I haven't brought them down with me, but I've got a massive ton of marigold seeds ready for next year. Is there another seed? Is there something else that I would say? It's the same as your herbs. You can let all your herbs go to seed. So when it bolts and it produces that flower, on top of that flower, if you let it dry out and it doesn't get too wet, and you maybe put a bit of net over it to stop the seeds from falling into the ground. Fennel's another good one that just self-sows everywhere. So yeah, so check to see if a lot of them are self-sowing. If so, you know you've got a constant low. So if one year you're like, actually I can't really afford to buy anything this year, you haven't got to worry, because if you take the seeds and you sow those seeds, you'll have, yes, the same flowers, but at least you know they'll work well in your garden. When you save seed from your garden or your allotment and you grow them again the following year, that seed is already used to your type of soil. So it will grow better the second year because it already knows what type of soil it grows into and how to adjust to that type of soil. So also remember that. So that is it. I'm definitely off now because my drink is getting cold and I think I've waffled on long enough. So editing this should be fun. I will see you again tomorrow if you want to come back and see me for door number 12.